Hi, I'm Jordan. Buddy, welcome to Travel with Buddy and Jordan. Today we'll take you along on our journey from Kentucky to South Shields, England. We'll fly from Louisville to Detroit, cross the Atlantic in Delta One, connect through Amsterdam, and finally arrive in Newcastle before driving into Northeast England. Along the way, I'll share some of the things we do to make international travel much less stressful. So, if this is your first trip to Europe, or you're just looking for some ideas to make travel easier, I hope you find a few helpful tips. Our trip began at Louisville Airport on a Tuesday afternoon. Since it was the middle of the week, check-in was quick, the clear line was short, and TSA moved right along. From checking our bags to arriving at the gate took only about 20 minutes. One thing you'll hear me talk about often is building what I call a stress margin into every trip. We arrived early enough that even if something unexpected happened, we still have plenty of time. Most travel stress comes from running late. I'd much rather sit at the gate relaxing than sprint through the airport wondering if I'm going to miss my flight. Our first flight was aboard a CRJ 900 for the short flight to Detroit. Before boarding, Buddy and I stopped by the cockpit to say hello to the pilots. They couldn't have been friendlier. I always enjoy talking with flight crews. They're some of the most professional people you'll ever meet, and I never take for granted the responsibility they have every day. We planned a 2 hour and 50-minute layover in Detroit, and that was completely intentional. Whenever I'm connecting to an international flight, I like giving myself plenty of margin. Weather happens, mechanical delays happen, gates change. If everything goes perfectly, great. You get extra time to relax. If something goes wrong, you're not panicking about missing your flight. Fortunately, everything was right on schedule that day, so our stress margin became time to enjoy the airport. Detroit's one of Delta's largest hubs, and if you've been here before, you know the A concourse seems to go on forever. One of my favorite features is the express tram that runs above the terminal. Since my hip doesn't appreciate long walks anymore, being able to ride the tram from one end of the concourse to the other makes getting around much easier. Before heading to the lounge, I checked the Delta app to see which Sky Club was the least crowded. The lounge near gate A68 looked nice and quiet, so that's where we went. If you've never visited an airport lounge before, think of it as a quiet oasis in the middle of a very busy airport. Comfortable chairs, good food, coffee, Wi Fi, places to charge your devices, and a chance to simply relax before your flight. After a nice meal and some time to unwind, we hopped back on the tram and headed for our gate, where our Airbus A330-900 Neo was waiting to take us across the Atlantic. Since this was an overnight flight of about 8 hours, we decided to book Delta One. We wanted to arrive in Europe rested because we had a full day ahead once we landed. Delta One is their international business class featuring private suites with lie flat seats. We booked well in advance, watched the fares carefully, and our entire round trip first class itinerary from Louisville to South Shields and back, including Delta One across the Atlantic and European business class, came just under $3,600. For a trip like this, it was money well spent. Once we settled into our seats, Buddy and I stopped by the flight deck to thank the captain and first officer. They couldn't have been nicer and got a real kick out of Buddy visiting the cockpit. Once we reached cruising altitude, the service began with warm mixed nuts and drinks. I ordered a glass of white wine and a ginger ale. I always alternate alcohol with water or ginger ale on long flights to stay hydrated. And I don't know what it is, but there's just something soothing about warm peanuts on an airplane. Maybe it's just me. If you wish to drink alcohol on a long flight, like I often do, a word of caution. Drinking alcohol on a plane at 37,000 feet with an 8,000-foot pressurized cabin means your body thinks it's a mile and a half high with reduced oxygen levels. So the effects of alcohol on your body hit harder and a lot worse than you would expect. I wrote a post about this on our travel blog site. We strongly recommend that if you wish to have alcohol while flying, drink an equal amount of water or a light liquid with it to stay hydrated and reduce the effects of a flight hangover or headache when you arrive. Dinner started with a wheat roll, salad, and corn chowder, which was quite good. Very nice. Buddy and I both love seafood, and the main course was roasted cod and salmon fillet with puree and spinach. That was excellent. And of course, there was dessert. Vanilla ice cream with chocolate strawberries and Biscoff that Buddy and I both truly love, being ice cream addicts. Perhaps I'm in the minority, but I've always enjoyed Delta's meals and I've never had a meal I didn't like. The meal selection was not random. I chose that before boarding. As I had a Delta One reservation, about a week before my flight, I got an email from Delta welcoming me to the flight and showing me my menu choices. So a week before my flight, I chose my main course from a variety of options, which is very convenient if you have allergies or you can only eat specific types of food. Thus, I knew before even boarding my flight what my dinner would be. Pre-planning my dinner about a week out gave me assurance I would have food I liked and further reduced any stress on such a long flight. After dinner, we sat back, relaxed, and took in a movie before laying down to catch some sleep. Delta One's lie flat seats are great for getting some sleep on an overnight flight to Europe. It's your own mini suite with plenty of outlets for your devices, water, a headset, and a very comfortable blanket. Seat 1A is the bulkhead, but it has more room to stretch out my legs. As we approached Amsterdam the next morning, the sunrise above the clouds was absolutely beautiful. It was one of those scenes that just makes you stop and stare at how amazing the earth is and all the warm morning colors. What a lovely way to enter Europe and get ready for our day ahead. As we began our descent about an hour out, the flight attendant started waking the cabin up. They brought out a warm towel to help me wake up and freshen up. Of course, Buddy always loves a warm towel. Then came breakfast. We opted for fruit, yogurt, granola, and some orange juice. We landed feeling surprisingly refreshed and awake. The key to that was staying hydrated and wearing compression socks. On any flight of 4 hours or more, I always wear compression socks to help keep my legs swelling down. Another enjoyable transatlantic flight, and for us, Delta One was worth it. Amsterdam Schiphol was one of my favorite airports. It's the third busiest airport in Europe with a single terminal concept. This means the terminal is all under one roof, split into three main departure halls. It also means you can have incredibly long walks between connecting gates because of its size. We followed the signs directly to the beautiful KLM Crown Lounge. Delta Air France and KLM are all partner airlines, so Delta One passengers have access. As you ride the escalator up to the entrance, one of the first things you'll notice is a collection of little blue ceramic houses. They're called Delft Blue KLM houses, and they're modeled after historic Dutch buildings. It's one of those uniquely Dutch touches that immediately lets you know you've arrived in the Netherlands. After showing our passport and boarding pass at the reception desk, we settled in for about 4 hours. The first thing that always strikes me is just how spacious this lounge is. There's plenty of comfortable seating, a huge buffet with excellent food, fresh coffee, tea, juices, and yes, plenty of adult beverages as well. But what really makes this lounge stand out is the atmosphere, the artwork, lighting, model aircraft displays, the Delft Blue houses. Everything has been thoughtfully designed. It feels less like an airport waiting area and more like a hotel lounge. After an overnight flight, having a quiet place to sit down, enjoy a nice breakfast, answer a few emails, and simply relax before the final flight is something we really appreciate. We planned another generous layover here, about 4.5 hours, and again, that was intentional. Long international trips deserve plenty of margin. If Detroit had been delayed, we still would have made our connection without stress. Since everything went according to plan, we simply enjoyed breakfast, another cup of coffee, answered a few emails, and relaxed before heading to our gate. Sometimes the best travel days are the ones that never feel rushed. Our final flight to Newcastle was aboard an Embraer 190. European business class is a little different than what many Americans expect. The seats are the same as economy, but the middle seat stays empty, giving you considerably more room. Just over an hour later, we landed in Newcastle. Immigration was quick. Baggage arrived within about 15 minutes, and before long, we were ready to pick up our rental car. One reason I almost always fly into Newcastle instead of Heathrow is because it's simply easier. One thing I really appreciate about Newcastle Airport is how easy the rental car process is. I'd already reserved an automatic rental car with Alamo before leaving home. My Kentucky driver's license was all I needed. I didn't need an international driving permit. If you're not completely comfortable driving a manual transmission, spend the extra money and reserve an automatic. Many rental cars in the UK have manual transmission, and trying to learn to drive a stick while also adjusting to what I like to tease my British mates is the wrong side of the road isn't something I'd recommend. Before the trip, I also reviewed British road signs and roundabouts. That small amount of preparation made a huge difference, and soon I was enjoying the drive to our Airbnb in lovely South Shields. So after about 18 hours of travel, we finally made it to South Shields. Looking back, what made the trip enjoyable wasn't luck, it was preparation. Giving ourselves extra time, planning our connections, and doing a little homework before we left made the trip surprisingly relaxing. And that's really what this channel is all about, helping you travel with more confidence and less stress. In our next video, we'll show you one of our favorite parts of Northeast England. Until then, travel prepared, travel confidently, and we'll see you on our next adventure.